Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to do the tasks, the formulas for the IP5 assignment. We can see that we have two options here. How much would he invest today in a single lump sum at 6%, and how much would he do at 3%? We have the compound interest formulas for option 1 and for option 2. So we're going to do these both the long way and the short way. You can see here that I've filled out, we've calculated how much he's going to need. We have option 1. Here we have the number of years is 2 in both cases. We have the interest for option 1 at 6%, compounded quarterly, so you notice we have a 4 in this spot, and then down here we have the 2 years at 3%, and this is compounded monthly, so we have a 12 in this spot. So we're going to do the two different formulas. We're going to do the long way, and we're going to do the short way. So we're going to do it the long way first, using doing it longhand, and then we're going to do the short way. You can see this one we have the compound interest formula. A is the future value, P is the present value, I the interest, and the N is the number of periods. So what we have to do is we have to redo this formula to calculate for the present value. So what we're going to do is, for those of you who have had algebra, all we're going to do is we're going to take this part in parentheses, we're going to shift it, move it under the A to solve for P. So we're going to do that in this formula here. So we're just going to do this longhand. We're going to do an equals. To solve for P, we're going to do 64,000. We always use cell references wherever we can. So we're going to do 64,000. We're going to do divide. And then we're going to put the bottom part in parentheses. We're going to have order of operations. We're going to divide 1 plus, okay, and again, we're looking at the formula here. I'm just going to put this over on the side here so we can see it. Here's our formula here, and we'll just make this a little smaller so we can see our formula on the side as we work with it. So we have the 1 plus, here's our 1 plus. Our interest is going to be the 6%. Now, because we're compounding quarterly, we have to divide that by 4. So because of our order of operations, we don't have to put that divide by in parentheses, because it's going to be done first. This parentheses is going to be done first, but the division within the parentheses will be done before that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to raise that. We use that caret. That caret is above the 6. So we're just going to do shift 6. Now the number of periods, our number of periods is compounded quarterly. Okay, we're going to multiply that by the number of years. Now this we do have to put in parentheses, because otherwise it's going to raise it to the 4 and then multiply by 2. So we want to put that full K19 times K17 so that it raises to the power of 8 and not to the power of 4, and then multiply by 2. And we should get $56,813.51 as the amount of our investment. Now we can do that with a formula. There's actually a formula in Excel that does that too. Now if you're not sure what the formula is that you want to use, you're just going to click on the insert function. Now we want to know what the present value is of an investment, so we're just going to click present value and type OK. Oops, sorry about that. Present value, type go, and it's going to bring up several options. Now present value here returns the present value of an investment. That's pretty much what we want to find out, the present value of an investment. So I'm going to choose OK. That's the one I want to choose. Again, the rate, we're just going to click on the rate. Again, you want to divide that by the number of how often it's compounding. So if it's compounding by monthly, then you do it by 12, compounding quarterly by 4. If it compounds once a year, then you don't have to divide by anything. The number of periods, how many times is it going to compound? Here it's going to compound 8 times. There is no payment. We're putting the money in once, and it's not doing anything, so we don't have to do that. Now these are not bolded. Notice that these are not bolded. It's because they're optional. We have a future value that we want to reach. We want to reach the $64,000. So notice that this is going to end up a negative number. That's fine. You don't have to worry about that. To make it positive, we can just put a negative right here in the beginning. Notice that we reach the same value for both of these. That's a great way to check yourself. Did Excel, which has a pre-built-in formula, did it come up with the same number I did? It did. Wow, that means I must have done it right. So so there's option 1. We came up with the same number. That's a pretty good indication that you must have done it right. Okay, for the second one, he's making payments on a regular basis. So we have the same thing here. We have our payment times, and we just want to shift this. We want to find the payment here. So we just have to shift all this over and divide our future value, which is our $64,000. That's what we want to end up with. We want to divide that by this big monster of a formula over here. So what we're going to do is first we're going to do it the long way. We're going to start with an equals. We want to start with our future value here. We want to divide that by this long formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way from the inside out. We're going to start with 1 plus, and that I is our interest payment. So we're going to do the same thing. We've got our interest payment, and we have to divide it by the number of times that it's going to compound. Okay. Now what we're going to do to make that easier, we're just going to put that in parentheses. Okay, now we're going to work our way out. The next thing we need to do is we need to raise that to the power of n. What is the power of n? That's the number of periods. So we're going to raise that to, how many periods are there? There's 12 periods times how many years? 2 years. Now remember, it's going to raise it to that 12 unless we put it in parentheses. So we're going to put it in parentheses, and then we're going to put that whole mess there underneath that division into parentheses. Okay, what's the next thing we got to do? We got to subtract 1. Okay, so we're going to go here, we're going to subtract 1, and then we're going to put that whole job right there in parentheses. What's the next thing we need to do? We need to divide it by I. So we're going to do a division and then divide it by I. What's I? I is this divided by the number of periods, and then we're just going to plop that right there into parentheses just to make sure that it does it in the right order, and then we're going to put that into parentheses again to make sure that everything's in the right order. So working from the inside out, and then we're just going to hit enter. We get $2,590.80. Now, wow, that was a mess. So let's try it again. Is there an easier way to do this? Well, let's go up to this function and let's enter payment. Is there a formula that'll calculate my payment? Well, this one calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. That sounds pretty good to me. So let's try this and see what it does. All right, well, what's our rate? Same thing. Our rate is 3%. But remember, we're making payments every month, so we're going to do 3%, and we're going to divide it by how many times we're making our payments. Number of periods, same thing. We have 12 months, and we're doing that for 2 years. Okay, our present value, well, we're not putting anything in there. Now, if we're starting with a base payment, like maybe he's putting in $5,000, you would want to put that here. He's not starting from anything. He's starting from nil. So we're going to put nothing there. Now, notice there's no bold here. These are optional. We want to end up with a future value. Our future value we want is $64,000. So we're going to put that right there. And then we're going to type OK. Again, look at that. Our numbers match. Now, notice again we've got that negative number. So we're going to put a negative in front of that, and 2590, 2590.80. We end up with the same number, so that seems to work okay. If you get the same number, that means you probably did it right, so we feel pretty good about ourselves. Great job. Way to go.